So to graph this, we know that A is equal to 3, B is equal to 1, and C is equal to negative pi over 6, right? And then there's D is equal to 0. This is a 6, if that's not clear, which it's not. That's a 6. So, since there's no D, D is 0. So the amplitude is absolute A, which is 3. The period is 2 pi over absolute B, so it's 2 pi. Notice that the step size is going to be my period cut into 4 pieces. So that's going to end up being pi over 2. So my amplitude is 3, my step size is pi over 2, and my new starting value, also called my phase shift. Have I shifted to the left or to the right? Well, yes, I have, because I think about when will this be equal to 0? Because that's the input for sine, and when the input of sine is 0, that's when we start a new cycle. So it's negative pi over 6 is when we are going to have the beginning of our new cycle. So that's our new start. So I graph this sucker. My midline, since we have a plus 0, my midline is at y is equal to 0, since that's pretty clear. That's what your D value is, right? All right. So, since my midline is at 0, then my amplitude goes up to 3 and down to negative 3. Since it's sine, it starts at the midline, goes peak, midline, valley, midline. It goes up. So I take 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. And so I've taken care of this. Now I need to have my new starting value. So my new starting value is at, it's going to be right here at negative pi over 6. And then every time I take a step, it's going to be of size pi over 2. Well, in terms of sixes, notice that this, in terms of sixes, is just equal to 3 pi over 6. And that's how big of a step size I have. So if I take one step, I'm going to add 3 pi over 6 and get to 2 pi over 6. If I add another pi over 6, I'm going to get to 5 pi over 6. Take another step and get to 8 pi over 6. And then take another step, I'm going to get to 11 pi over 6. Now, to make sure that this is 2 pi long, well, this minus this, so this minus a negative pi over 6 is the same as plus. That gets me 12 pi over 6, which is 2 pi. So that means my period is what it needs to be. And that would be my graph. So that's 7. Let's do 11. So now if I do 11, I wonder if I had room at the bottom of the other one. No. So let's do 11. So if I look at 11, so for 11, y is equal to 4 cosine of x minus pi over 4. And I say the amplitude is absolute A, which is 4. The period is 2 pi over absolute B. So it's 2 pi, because it's over 1, right? In this case, my step size is going to be period over 4. So it's 2 pi over 4, which is pi over 2. And now I need my new plus 0. So notice 0 is your midline. It's your average value of the function. So new start. My new starting value is going to be where are my inputs of, it's also called your phase shift. So my new starting value or my phase shift, my phase shift is going to be where do these give you 0? Because when all of this is 0, then cosine will think it's getting 0 and it can start. And so it's now going to be at pi over 4. So just like before when we had x minus something, this is a shift to the right, which it is, pi over 4. So I'm ready to draw my picture. I know that my midline is at 0, so it's still chilling out here. Then I have a peak and a valley. It's going to go up to 4 and -4 because that's the distance from my midline to a peak, midline to a valley. But cosine starts at 1, or a peak, midline, then goes to a valley, midline, then peak. So it's going to do one of these things like that, right? Okay. And so now the only key part is let's take our steps. Well, I know that okay. Well, now I need to actually step it out. We need to be careful because we need our new starting value. We saw that our new starting value was pi over 4. And now we're going to take steps of pi over 2. Well, we would like the same denominator to make the math easier. So it turns out that my step size is 2 pi's over 4. So I take one step and I'm at 3 pi over 4. Another step I'm at 5 pi over 4. And then 7 pi over 4. And then 9 pi over 4. Notice if you take 9 pi over 4 minus pi over 4, you get 2 pi, which is our period. That's how long it takes to make one complete cycle. And we're done. That's 11. What was next after 11? 13 and 15. So let's do 13. Bloop, bloop. So if I look at 13, it's y is equal to sine of 2x minus pi plus 1. So in this case, a is equal to 1. So we say, look, this is in the form a sine of, well, we need to get in the right form, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rewrite it as the sine of 2x minus pi over 2 plus 1. So I factored out a 2, and now it should be really clear that this thing just shifts over to a starting value of pi over 2, right? So if I were to factor it out and get it in the right form, which is a sine of b x minus c plus d, if you get it in this form, then all you have to do is just say that, look, that is my shift left to right. Cool. That's another way to do this. So when I factored it out, if I divide by that value, what it's really doing is saying it's, when you divide, this is now c over b because I've divided by that. So this is my pi. Okay, so it turns out that our a, so there's a couple different ways to do it. Now let me do it the exact same way that we did the last one. So the last one we said that the amplitude is absolute A. So in this case, it's 1. The period is 2 pi over absolute B. So it's 2 pi over 2, because A is equal to 1, because it's right there. B is equal to 2. C is equal to negative pi. And D is equal to 1. So notice that this D equal to 1, that is your midline. So our midline is going to be at 1. Our amplitude is 1. Our period is pi. So that means that our step size is going to be period divided by 4. So it's pi divided by 4. Okay. And then, so I've got my period, my step size, my midline. I think I'm ready to go. Oh, I guess I need my new starting value, which is the same thing as your phase shift. And here's one way to think of it. You're just thinking, well, usually sine likes 0 to be plugged into it. Now we're plugging in this. So it turns out that when x is equal to pi over 2, then this sine will think it's getting 0. And you notice that when we factored out our 2, we ended up getting our negative pi over 2 inside here. Yes, we changed the form. And so yes, this is our shift to the right. So that's our new starting value. So now when we put everything together, we see that, well, we said that our midline was 1 because that's what D is. So our midline is 1. That's y is equal to 1. And then our amplitude is 1, so we go up 1 away from it to 2, and we go down 1 down to 0. And then sine starts at a midline, peak, midline, valley, midline. It gets rounded, and it looks something like this. We know it goes on forever. It's got infinite support. And then I need my starting value. So our starting value actually turns out to be pi over 2, right? Pi over 2. But the way that I'm going to think about it, since my steps are pi over 4, I'm actually going to think about my starting value as 2 pi over 4. So that now when I take my steps that are of size pi over 4, the math is easy because we have common denominators. So take one step and get 3 pi over 4, then 4 pi over 4, then 5 pi over 4, and then 6 pi over 4. I think you'll notice that if you take 6 pi over 4 minus 2 pi over 4, you're going to get 4 pi over 4, which is pi, because one cycle is how long the period should be. Is that good? Yeah, that's good. So I guess we would just draw our thing over here just to make sure we're clear. Okay, questions? That's 13. Oh, why did I say questions? There's nobody here. So 13, what do I do after 13? 15. May have time to do one more. So y is equal to negative 3 cosine of 3x plus pi minus 2. So here's how we're going to do it. It's clear that let's do amplitude, is absolute A. So it's the number in front. So this is A cosine of bx. Did I say minus c? I think I said minus c. Minus c plus d, yes. Just need to be consistent. I need to pick one. So the number in front, this is b. So yeah, I just need to be consistent. So the number in front of cosine is a. So this is absolute negative 3, which is 3. B is the number in front of x, the coefficient of x. So that means that the period is 2 pi over absolute b. It's 2 pi over 3. So that means my step size, which is period divided into 4 pieces, is this divided into 4 pieces. So multiplied by 1/4. I end up getting 2 pi over 12. What's up? 2 pi over 12, which is pi over 6. So that's my step size. I need my new starting value, and we'll finish this next time. What's up?